Ladies and gentlemen, you have to ask why Democrats and media wanted to withhold exculpatory evidence, possible exculpatory evidence in the form of 44,000 hours of video and security footage from that fateful day, terrible day in January 2 years ago. Okay? I condemn that day. Should never have taken place. I also condemn the $1 to $2 billion in property damage, 14,000 arrests, and 19 lives lost, according to Wikipedia, that summer. I support why people peacefully demonstrated that summer. I do support the cause. I'm not equating the cause. I'm not equating the underlying reasons for why people went to the streets between January and between that summer. I'm not saying that they're morally relative or they're the same. I support why people demonstrated peacefully that summer. However, there is no justification for any chaos or mayhem that causes $1 to $2 billion in property damage. You're looking at media and Democrats focusing on one day because it suits them politically, ignoring an entire summer because it suits them politically. And then they hide behind, well, the causes for the demonstrations are different. Yeah, the causes are different. Are you saying that justifies $1 to $2 billion in property damage? If so, then make that your position. That's not their vantage point. So Democrats and media oftentimes hide within the shadows of these viewpoints. They don't really want to say, yeah, hey, political chaos and mayhem is fantastic if the underlying cause is just. They don't want to actually state that out loud. Some people actually do. But that is obviously a vantage point they can't defend. So I'm speaking in a verbose manner, long-winded because I have to, but there's security footage that will almost certainly help 34 defendants still in D.C. jail, awaiting trial for January 2 years ago. They've been in confinement for 2 years. Now, you got to ask yourself, there's 14,000 arrests. You had Democrats bailing out people who committed crimes. Some of these individuals committed even more crimes after they were bailed out by Democrats. This is a fact, okay? You have to ask why they want such political retribution. The retribution goes only one way. If they feel that it's undermining democracy, oh my God, they're going to get their political retribution. An entire summer didn't undermine democracy, according to CNN. It was fiery but mostly peaceful, with a reporter in front of a building in flames. But now you have a large number of people who pled guilty, didn't have access to the security footage. Tucker Carlson is going to give people access to security footage. Okay, the world. Now, MSNBC, CNN, NBC, Washington Post, they all want that same security footage that Tucker Carlson has. I say them, fantastic. The more that people get to see the entire picture, the better. And the interesting thing is, you have outlets saying, well, we want Tucker Carlson's security footage. We want what Kevin McCarthy gave to Carlson. So we're going to show that they've already edited, the January committee has already edited the video and the footage. They're talking about security concerns. There was, again, an entire summer where they didn't care about security concerns. They also never cared about security concerns after the Dobbs decision, when you had conservative justices and you had churches and you had facilities throughout the country being torched or destroyed. When you only care about one form of political chaos and mayhem and you ignore another form of political chaos and mayhem, you are a sinister type of individual. And we have these types of individuals in Congress. They grandstand and they pontificate only when it suits them. And then they want to disarm Americans as they pay 20, 30 grand for security details every year. But hit subscribe to this channel, ladies and gentlemen. March is going to be a very, very interesting month. You're going to have Fox News and Tucker Carlson do the right thing, show the entire picture, where there might be exculpatory evidence that frees prisoners, or at least helps prisoners battle their court case and actually get to trial. You might have retrials. You might have people who pled guilty saying, hey, wait a second, this proves exactly what I've been saying. You might have a completely new narrative. There might be investigations into people who weren't supposed to be there that day in January, fomenting a certain type of, we'll just call it again, narrative. And so they held back exculpatory video footage evidence because it didn't suit them. That's the problem. Hit subscribe to this channel. Go to hagoodman.com to read my writing in The Hill, The Huffington Post, Salon, The Jerusalem Post, The Federalist, and other publications. My super thanks is below, next to the like and the share buttons. That's absolutely appreciated. And if you want to become part of my Patreon long-term, my Patreon is below as well. That's also greatly appreciated. Starting March, I will begin to build H.A. Goodman's other channel. 23 and 24 are going to be very important years for American history. You might see Hillary Clinton become the first female president or the second female president if Biden resigns and Vice President Harris becomes president. Anything is possible politically, okay? Because Democratic pundits will and constituents and voters will defend the indefensible at all times. Or I should say, not at all times, but if there's a prevailing paradigm of thought, they'll go with it no matter what. And I say this with love and respect. There are beautiful, amazing, wonderful liberal Democrats. And, if you're on the left, right, doesn't matter, center, God bless you if you're watching, and have a beautiful day, and I wish you only the best in 23. But you have to ask yourself why 14,000 arrests took place an entire summer. There were curfews in every major city. Again, I am not equating the underlying reasons for the demonstrations. I understand the reason for the demonstration, and I support the reason why people peacefully demonstrated that summer. Okay? But the property damage, the chaos, the curfews, the mayhem, the lives lost, the arrests, it's exponentially worse than that one day. And you had federal buildings, and you had government buildings, and you had police departments that were targeted by people who were not peaceful. And you have this effort, this concerted effort. When CNN said fiery but mostly peaceful, technically you could possibly say that about January. It was mostly peaceful. If you look at the aggregate number of people there in D.C., according to CNN, they would say it was mostly peaceful. I'm not saying it's mostly peaceful. They would say it was mostly peaceful. But now you have a situation where people are still languishing in jail. They haven't been given the opportunity to have a trial. And you have Democrats who convince themselves that you have these people trying to overthrow democracy or the country. They use a word it doesn't even fit the legal definition of. Okay? What took place that day is the same thing that took place almost every day that summer. They didn't see things that way, though. Okay? That's like political chaos and mayhem. If it's from the left, is never viewed as undermining democracy. Okay? And that's something that Trump has to acknowledge. And he can't put himself in a position like that ever again. Okay, so the thing that Trump did wrong was trying to repeat or trying to act in the same manner as Democrats would if they were upset. You just can't do those times. There's a double standard that Trump has to acknowledge and work around. I'm not saying that he just has to acquiesce because of a double standard. I'm saying there's a double standard that he has to acknowledge. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. Tucker Carlson could very well be freeing prisoners, or at least expediting trials because of the security footage. It's exculpatory evidence almost certainly in many cases, especially for people who pled guilty who didn't want to plead guilty. And there were a lot of people like that. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe.